This terrifying true story happened when I was hosting a snorkeling adventure for an outdoor event company. It was summer break, and I was leading a small group on a different part of the river since the main channel was too crowded. This group was made up of a few other college students and one older Jimmy Buffett looking guy named Spud, who was nervous because he didn't know how to swim. I reassured him that as long as he kept on his life vest, he'd be fine. As I began the tour, I kept a watchful eye on Spud the whole time. Then, as the current picked up, we all put on our snorkeling mask and floated downstream the rest of the way. After the tour ended, we all went on the bank and dried off. That's when I noticed Spud was missing. My heart sank into my throat. I told one of the students to call 911 while I rushed back into the water. Luckily, I found him. He was flailing in the middle of the river, but he wasn't drowning. He was just staring down at something. As I swam up to him, I saw what looked like a scaly webbed hand emerge from the water and pull Spud under. I quickly dived in after him. The water was murky, but I could see Spud being pulled away by some kind of creature. I grabbed his arm, trying with all my strength to pull him back. But whatever that thing was pulling him was much stronger. But I was not letting go of Spud. It wasn't until I looked up and saw a ring buoy floating on the surface and the other students crowded around the shore calling out that I felt we might just have a chance. So I reached up and grabbed it. I was able to pull Spud close enough so he was able to grab onto the buoy as well. The combined force of the students pulling the buoy was strong enough that the thing finally released Spud. As we were pulled ashore, last thing I remember seeing was this big, large reptilian-like tail disappear into the murky water. It's one of those stories that still sends chills down my spine today because we don't know what was in that water with us. And we wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for a ring buoy.
I always heard rumors about the drugs from Mexico, that they were laced with materials from ground up bones from people buried in the earth by the cartel, but I didn't believe any of that. Me and my ex-girlfriend were bored one night and we decided to smoke some meth at her apartment. I got pretty high pretty quick, but my girlfriend kept smoking. I noticed that her mood began to change pretty quick and she started becoming argumentative and aggressive. I figured it was just her time of the month and I wanted to give her some time to cool down. So I left to go to the store. When I got back, the front door was wide open and the house was a mess. Furniture was upside down, glass shattered, there were scratches on the wall, and my girlfriend was missing. Then I heard some screaming coming from the bathroom. My heart was racing. It was about to beat out of my chest, but I couldn't just stand there. I leapt forward and crept down the hall. I pushed the bathroom door open, and there was my girlfriend. She had bruises and cuts on her arms and leg, and her hair was wild as if she tried to pull it out. Both her eyes were turned inward, looking at each other. Somehow, she had gotten stuck between the toilet and the sink, and her neck was wrapped around the base of the sink. She was muttering in some language I'd never heard before. I was completely creeped out, and I had never seen anything like this in my entire life. I didn't know what to do. So I bent down and tried to help her, but she started growling and trying to bite me like some freaking wild animal. It was at that point I knew there was nothing I could do, so I left. I called the cops anonymously to do a wellness check, and that was it. I don't know if it was the drugs or something else. There was definitely something wrong with my girlfriend that night. I haven't spoken to her since.
When I was a kid,
Me and my best friend Abel would go sledding and watch movies at Christmas time. Our favorite was Home Alone. We knew every line and often pretended to be Kevin McAllister and protect our treehouse by building booby traps and zip lines. I often felt bad for Abel. He was short, pudgy, had a sagging face and wrinkles, and suffered from pseudofolliculitis, giving him whisker-like hairs on his face. Every Christmas, kids used to tease him mercilessly. "Hey, Grinch, go back to Whoville, Grinch. Leave me alone," he'd yell as he ran away. Abel was an only child in a rich family, but his parents were too busy to spend any time with him. Every year, he begged them for some kind of plastic surgery or hair removal for Christmas, but they just scoffed and told him, "Abel, you're not paying for plastic surgery for a child. You just have to accept who you are, son." As time passed, it was Christmas time again, but Abel had suddenly gone missing. A search party was organized, but he was never found. I missed my friend, but I hoped he was in a better situation. On Christmas night, the whole town gathered at the town square for the annual Christmas lighting tree ceremony. I sat on one of the rooftops overlooking the square with my cup of hot cocoa to watch the festivities. I noticed a very strong odor coming from somewhere, but just ignored it. Soon, the big moment arrived. Everyone counted down, and then the mayor flipped the switch, and the huge tree lit up the town square. Everyone cheered. Christmas carolers sang it was a magical moment, until someone yelled, "What is that?" A spotlight was aimed at the top of the tree, revealing Abel. His entire body and hair now sprayed lime green, and he was wearing a Santa robe and hat, clinging precariously to the tree like a human ornament. Everyone burst into laughter, but Abel's parents were livid. "What are you doing up there, Abel?" "I'm accepting who I am," he said as he pulled out his cell phone from his robe pocket and tapped the screen. The town square's smart sprinkler system instantly clicked on, dousing everyone and everything in kerosene. No one was laughing anymore. Then Abel began to rock back and forth. Everyone watched nervously as a giant tree swayed in front of them. Abel screamed, "Y'all wanted a Grinch? Well, you got him!" Suddenly, the big Christmas tree crashed to the ground, suffocating the patrons under it as Christmas lights burst and exploded. Sparks flew, setting the kerosene ablaze, and flames spread in seconds. The entire town square was on fire. I watched in horror as my neighbors and friends were screaming, burning, running for their lives. I couldn't believe my eyes. Victims with third-degree burns and other injuries were rushed to the hospital as firefighters struggled to contain the flame. Abel tried to escape, but was tackled by the police and arrested and dragged away. Before they put him in the police car, Abel stopped and looked up at me and smiled the biggest smile ever and said, "Merry Christmas, you filthy animal."